Hello all my beautiful sisters from those other misters, welcome back to my channel. Today I am putting the Super Sponge to the test. So this is the silicone infused Super Sponge. This is fairly new to market. It's only like up for pre-sale at the moment. The company reached out to Kat and I and asked if we wanted to try it, and we said yes. So we basically, the company did this little test where they showed how this sponge will make product go so much further than a typical beauty sponge. So Kat and I basically recreated that test to see if it was accurate or not. And it was. So ever since filming that, I've been really intrigued by this sponge. I've been excited to try it, and spoiler alert, I've actually been using it ever since we filmed that video, and I really like it. So if you're not familiar with what the Super Sponge is, it is a makeup sponge that has a silicone coating on the majority of the sponge. So this bottom part of the sponge is just typical sponge, and this part has a silicone coating. It's not all silicone, it's just a silicone coating. So this is supposed to make your foundation go 2 to 4 times further than a typical sponge because it doesn't absorb your foundation. So today I want to put this to the test. I want to put it to the test on my face. I'm going to do half of my face with this guy, and I'm going to do half my face with a Real Techniques Miracle Complexion Sponge. And I'm going to use a foundation that I am extremely familiar with. I've been using it for months. I'm currently painting it. It is the Giorgio Armani Power Fabric Foundation. This is a 50-50 mix of Power Fabric and Luminous Silk. So just so we're very clear on that. Now, I'm trying to pan this because it's like, it was my summer color. My tan has faded. At the moment, usually when I use this, I actually mix it with a lighter foundation to make it work for me. But today I'm just going to use it as is, so it's going to look a bit funny on my skin. It's going to be, you know, too dark for me, but that's all good. The important thing is the fact that I know exactly how much of this foundation it usually takes to cover like my full face and my neck, because I usually blend my foundation down my neck to help it sort of blend into the color of the skin on my body. So usually I would use 4 pumps of this to do a full face and my neck. Today I'm going to do 1 pump with the Super Sponge, and I'm going to do 1 pump with the Miracle Complexion Sponge. I'm going to see how far they go. All right, 1 pump of foundation. There you go. You can see it's not a lot. This is why I use 4 pumps. I'm going to do the right side of my face with the Super Sponge. Just going to dot some foundation around. I'm even going to try and do my neck. I'm still going. All right, all the foundation is off my hand. Let's do this. So that's half my face done with 1 pump of foundation and the Super Sponge. We're going to move over to the Real Techniques. Again, we're going to do a 1 pump. There we go. Going to pick it up, and it's gone. Let's see how far I can take this. So I feel like on the sponge side, I did get a little bit of coverage. It just wouldn't really, it wouldn't go down the neck. By the time I got to the neck, it was pretty much done. I feel like the coverage on the sponge side, or the Miracle Complexion sponge side, is a little bit sheerer. It's not quite as full coverage as what's going on over here. I will say though, I wouldn't consider this side with the super sponge full coverage. I think it, personally, for filming, I would go in with another layer. For day-to-day wear, just one pump for like half a face is fine. So I would probably use 2 pumps for a typical day if I was going to be using the super sponge. I'm going to do another pump for each side of the face using their respective sponges. 1 pump, super sponge. Okay, that's as far as I want to go with coverage with this foundation. I don't want to take it any further because it'll start to look cakey. And I probably used maybe 2/3 of a pump. So I'm pretty happy with that. All right, time for Miracle Complexion Sponge. Again, so easy to pick up the full amount. Okay, so I feel like I have a little bit more coverage, but my neck, let's zoom out. I don't have the same coverage on the Miracle Complexion Sponge side as I do on the Super Sponge side, and you can probably see like in this area, I'll see if I can get some extra product on there. It's just not, the coverage isn't what I would usually want it to be. Forehead's fine, usually doesn't take too much product to make me happy with the coverage on my forehead. So I'm gonna go in with another bump. There we go. I'm gonna try and just tidy up this area. I'm pretty satisfied that both sides of my face have about the same amount of coverage. For the Super Sponge side, which was over here, I used about 1 2/3 of a pump. It's kind of hard to tell when you like pump it out and then you're just picking a bit up with a sponge, but I think 1 2/3 is it's a fair estimate with how much I used, and I got a really nice even full coverage. I did not even have to use the sponge end or the non-silicone coated sponge end, which they say you can use to pick up excess product if you've got too much on there, which I can totally see happening if this is a first time use. But because I had played with it a little bit, I knew how far foundation would go, and it does give a really beautiful, even application. There's no weird splotchy lines or harsh marks where the foundation hasn't been blended into the skin. So that's really nice. You can use the full silicone coating to like get a nice application. On the Miracle Complexion Sponge side, I used 3 full pumps, and you guys saw, you know, once you sort of go into the product and pick it up, it just sucks straight up into the sponge. You could totally dot it around your face if you wanted to try and do that. It's not a typical way that I do my foundation. I pick my foundation up with my sponge and then like blend it around my face. So I kind of want to be authentic to how I do my makeup. There is one other test that I want to try, and that is concealer. Now I can't accurately measure how much concealer I'm putting on my face, but I am just going to go with like one dip. This is the Maybelline Fit to Me concealer. I'm going to go on this side, get everything off the sponge. It's going to be way too much. Super sponge? Let's see. Other side. Miracle complexion sponge. I'm not so sure that one fared better over the other, to be honest. I think they both did a really good job of blending out the concealer. Maybe it's more of a testament as to why I love this concealer. I think it's one of the best, especially for the price. It's a full coverage concealer and it never lets me down. Maybe a better way of doing that test would have been using a concealer that is lower coverage and needs to be built up to get a full coverage. I don't know, but this is what I've done. I can't put another concealer on my face. I'm gonna finish up my face and I'll come back and have a chat to you about how I feel about the Super Sponge. The Super Sponge is a nifty little tool. When I first saw this being promoted on social media, I was like, no, not interested. And I think that probably goes back to when I used the Silly Sponge and I just thought that tool was a complete waste of space. It felt like applying foundation with a dried up old tongue. And the results weren't even good. You couldn't blend out your foundation properly with it. It would leave marks. It was patchy. And then they came out to say just use it to like move your foundation around your face and then use a brush or your fingers or another sponge to blend it out. And I'm like, why? Why would you do that? I have 10 tools attached to my body that I can use to get the foundation on my face. I could just use a sponge or a brush to get the foundation on my face. It's one and done. You don't need a secondary tool to be putting foundation on your face. It just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't fit with my routine. And I kind of thought that this would be a little bit similar. I did think, okay, you've got your silicone coating so you can move your foundation around, and then you've got your blender bottom that you can use to perfect the look. But as it turns out, I don't even think I'll ever need this. I can understand why it's there. If you're not familiar with the sponge or you're not familiar with how your foundation is going to go on with the sponge, then you might find that you put on too much and you need a little bit of help to pick some of the product up. So I definitely think that this is here for a reason. It has a purpose, and I think it's a valid purpose. I personally I'm at this stage, I haven't needed to use it, and I'm not sure that I would need to use it. I just know with this sponge, less is more, which is great. So start with a little bit, build more up. That's always a philosophy I've had with makeup though. It's something they teach you when you go to makeup school, and they teach you can always put more on, but it's very difficult to take product away. So I understand why it's there, and I'm not going to poo-poo it. I just don't personally feel like I need to use it. I think with this sponge, what's amazing about it is you can take a foundation that's full coverage and you can go straight to full coverage. You don't have to build it up slowly with layers. Now, usually if I'm using this guy and I want just everyday wear, like I'm going to hang out with friends or I'm just running errands, I will use a sponge. I just use like a beauty blender, or not even a beauty blender. I don't even think I own any anymore. Like the Ella Cosmetic sponge or the Miracle complexion sponge from Real Techniques. If I want a full coverage application straight off the bat, I actually use a brush because I know that it's going to apply all of the foundation quickly to my face. But an issue with this one and some other foundations and brushes is sometimes you do get streak marks and you have to, you know, work quite a lot to get that beautiful even finish. I feel like with this guy, you can have the full coverage straight off the bat, but the beautiful blended application of a sponge. So to me, this is almost like a really high quality makeup brush sponge hybrid. It's totally just a sponge. There's nothing about this that is a brush, but it's the way that it applies the foundation with a full cover straight off the bat. I really like it. I'm excited to see how that sponge goes with other foundations in my collection. I've got some that I know when I put them on with a sponge, they go on quite sheer. I can definitely build them up and it gives them a beautiful full cover application, but there's a lot of building and a lot of product being used. And one that comes to mind, and this is a little bit ironic, is the Beauty Blender Bounce Foundation. I use so much of this foundation for an application, and I'm really keen to see how this goes with this. All right, I'm gonna start wrapping this up. I've said everything I can. I like it and I do recommend it. If you're interested in trying it, I don't think you'll be disappointed with it. It's a beautiful sponge. So the Super Sponge it's available for pre-order now, but it doesn't ship until June, so please keep that in mind. It's an introductory price of $19.95 and then it goes up to $29.95 when pre-order is over. I'm actually tempted to buy another one just to like have it at that introductory price. Shipping's pretty good. In the US and Canada it's $1.95 and to everywhere else in the world it's $4.95, so it's pretty affordable. That's all in US dollars as well. In your little pack you do get a scrubber with your sponge, and this is important. You do need it to help work the foundation or concealer out of the silicone coated part of the sponge, otherwise it's really difficult to get out. And I've tried to clean it a few times without that to see if I can get it really nice and clean. It's never quite the same. The little cleaning doodad really does help. So massive thank you to Super Sponge for sending these our way. If you want to see the video that Kat and I did on this sponge over on Beauty News, I'll link that down below so you can check it out if you haven't already. Let me know if you've tried the sponge, and I'm gonna go because my neighbor's kids are screaming and it's really pissing me off. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.